right along here. Rod Cummings, our transportation director, is going to give us an update on transportation. You want to go with that technology too, Rod? I can tell you're a technophobe just by looking at you.
I knew everybody wasn't going to flip on technology, so I brought paper too.
Come here, get this to Gary.
I like technology. We'll take it.
No problem.
First of all, thanks for letting me come back one more time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Last time that we spoke, we talked about accountability. We talked about accountability with our diesel and our gas programs. We talked about accountability with our parts inventory and our work orders, and we talked about the cameras on the buses. Today, I'd like to continue talking about accountability. But I'd really like to talk about accountability as far as time goes with our employees. I want to run back and forth. When we first started this process, one of the other things that I noticed was that when we did payroll, that it took forever to do. My secretary spends about 2 to 3 hard days to make sure that she gets everything done. Payroll equals accountability too. It equals accountability for our employees, but also for us. One of the issues that I had other than the time is the accuracy that I was getting with our payroll. Whether it was coming from them or coming from us, sometimes it wasn't just the way that it needed to be. So I started looking around and I found a program, and it's called Exact Time Clock, or Exact Time Job Clock. Raleigh County uses this on their buses, and I'd like to explain to you how it works and how it could apply to us a little bit. As you can see, the job clock, each one of those clocks would be mounted on our buses, so that each time an employee came to work, they would take one of the keys on the right, they would touch the job clock, and it would start their time. So a bus driver in the morning, when he did his pre-trip, he would walk up to his bus, he would take his key, and he would put it on his clock. Automatically, it will take that time and put it into the job clock. The red key on the other side, when he finished his run in the morning, he would hit that key onto the clock, and it would stop his time. Now, if you had a day run or a bus run taking the band somewhere or whatever he was doing, there would be a separate key that they would use that would start their time for that, because the pay grade is different for those bus drivers. Anything that we do, we could start the time and end the time so that we could collect it. We could have a red key that would stop it, the blue key would be for extra runs. We would have a key for weekend runs. We could have a key for all of our supplemental runs, whether it's the critical skills or whether it's 21st century. Also run groundsman runs through my payroll too. So when the groundsmen were out doing a job, that they could use a separate key for that, so we could keep their time straight. With this system, the way that it works, as I said, each one of our buses, our spare buses, our regular buses, I would have one in the garage for our mechanics. We would put one in our vehicles that we have for our grounds people, and they would be able to start and stop their time. The Android devices, we would have to collect the data. The Android devices, we would locate them at Duval, one here at the bus garage, one at Guyan Valley and one at Harts, and that's where fueling stations are too. So once a week, what they would do, would they download their time from the clock from their bus onto this Android device. Once the Android device has it collected, I'm gonna skip through some of this. But once a week, they would download it. After they download it to that, then the next process would take all that information, all that stored time, it would send it straight to a program in payroll, which is called Time Summit. And Time Summit is one of those programs that we would buy with this system. That Time Summit will automatically interface with our Weebus program, so that once the times go into the Time Summit, it will collect it. And all you have to do would be hit a button, and that button will send it to payroll. What that does is it automatically takes a lot of payroll out of my secretary's hands. It takes it out of Trina's hand to a degree, which saves me time in my office for my secretary to do other things. But even more importantly, now we have exact times that our employees are working, which is really important when it comes down to overtime pay. Because as you may know, our overtime pay is calculated on actual time worked, actual seat time in the bus. They don't get paid overtime until they've accumulated 40 hours of it. So by us tracking this up to the minute time, we'll be precise with the amount of overtime that they get or that they don't get. One of the other benefits from this program listed some pros and cons, but for me, one of the big things, as I mentioned, my secretary spends 2 to 3 days each pay period, which is about 6 days a month, that she's doing payroll. Instead, she could be helping Chuck with our other program to make sure that our invoices are put into the work order programs, that we can shop around and get a better price for parts and that kind of stuff. There's other things that she could do that would save us money. All in all, anytime you have pros, you also have cons. And the biggest cons with it is the expense, obviously. The time that you need to develop, repair, and test, and install the clocks, will be something that we have to have our technology people help us with. The Android devices sometimes have some issues with them retaining the codes, preparing, and it's just an additional step that we have to have. But with the amount of time and the accuracy that we can gain from it, I think it's something that we need to consider purchasing. Bertie and I talked to Raleigh County, who uses this, and they're really big on this program. According to them, it's actually saved them money in the long haul because of the accuracy of it. Barber County.
And Doddridge.
Well, Barbara was the one that was using it for
Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act, so that they could track their people to make sure that if they work 30 or less hours, that whether or not they would require insurance.
Mr. Cummings,
Sir,
a job clock would be on each bus?
each bus. And not only on the buses, I would want one in my garage for my mechanics. I want one on the vehicles that we use for a groundskeeper, because they go through our payroll. And what you could do with mechanics, let's say, when they come in the morning, they start it with a green key. When they leave in the evening, they would stop it with the red key so that their time would be accurate. Now, if we could, and I would want to set it up so that they had a different key if they had to go out on a service call, then I would know that they went out on the service call and what time they got back. And I would also want to know if they went to pick up parts with a separate key possibly, what time they left to do that and what time they came back. Wouldn't change their pay grade, but it would allow me to know when they were in the garage and where they were at. Groundskeepers, the way that I envision using that, it would be put on the vehicles that they drive. When they leave here, they would start their time. When they came back, they would stop it. However, I would think that travel time needed to be considered in that. So when they got to the job site, whether it was Duval mowing or Hart's mowing or wherever, then they could start their time there, another separate key.
These expenses for this, are these reimbursable,
Yes, everything that.
the same rate for all transportation?
90%. We get 90% of it back through reimbursement.
What about the reliability of equipment? Have any of these counties reported that, you know, the maintenance on the, say, the job lots, are they pretty reliable?
Yeah, the lady in Raleigh County who was the people that we found out from, she swears by it. She said she would quit before she let something happen to it.
And what about payroll now? Do they, I know everyone has a timesheet and they have to turn, would they still have to turn in timesheets, or how do you get around the?
No.
This is gonna create all your documentation that you need to meet all your federal timekeeping laws.
Okay,
And then it's electronically stored, no more big boxes to have to shuffle through, immediate access to everything.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of good benefits and
This
no more.
was-
And Raleigh County really likes it too, from the bus driver's standpoint. They don't have to come all the way to the bus garage to deliver their time sheets. They don't have to worry about writing it all down because it's recorded for them.
How do you, right now, I have to attest that this is what I've done this week, and I've signed my name on there. There wouldn't be anything like that involved in this, or you just rely?
There still is, when it goes to Trina, it'll create a paper, then we review the time sheet on that, and then when we sign it for the whole paper.
Now, who's doing, is the employee ever doing any signing? Yeah, this is correct for me?
No, they do now.
I know they do now.
With this, no.
They wouldn't do that.
It would be, and I'm not sure, Steve, but I think it would probably be considered an electronic signature when they use, each person has their own identifying key. So there would probably be some stipulations when you assign that key up to that person, that when you do this, you're verifying and certifying this is true and accurate time.
I'm
And-
just making sure we
Yeah, that's a good
still
point.
meet the federal requirements.
Yeah. And obviously, Raleigh County has been doing it for several years.
Yeah.
So those bugs, the good thing about coming in after somebody's done it, they've already worked out those bugs.
What keeps me from getting hold of Mr. Curry's key?
Well, I won't let you have it.
So I'm glad for him.
Well, no, any system, there's gonna
Always.
be
What do you
ways
know
to
about
beat it.
substitute coming out?
We're gonna issue them a key too. The key is specific to the employee. So that employee will have a key. Now, we only have certain employees who do the 20%, the after-school stuff. They would be assigned a key specifically for that. So they could have 4 or 5 keys depending on the number of jobs that they have, which are color coded. And we talked about being able to mark on those what they're specifically for.
Yeah.
Raleigh County, which I think we should too, but if they lose their 4 keys, then they have to pay to replace them, which is $9.95 a piece. They charge them $40.
Anything else, Gary?
Is the data stored in a cloud or off-site, or
It's in a cloud.
will
Yeah.
the employees get a copy of their time each day?
Yeah,
If requested?
It could
or whatever?
be, yeah, we'll have to work through some of the details on that, but yes, this is a copy of one that Raleigh County did, and this is possibly something that we could do to give that to the employees so they see that.